This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by Kevin J. Sett, our honored patron and SwitchCast.
Hi everybody, I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Switch enthusiast and the community for the Switch lover. Because you know what? We're way more than just a podcast anymore. We've gone well beyond that. This is a whole community of Switch players, Nintendo fans, and just anyone who loves gaming as a group, honestly.
I honestly did not expect our community to explode as much as it has when we first conceived this podcast, and I'm honestly absolutely thrilled that we were able to get so many really like-minded and cool people together to play all these games.
Gears are in motion, Jerry, because honestly, so many things are going on right now with the Switch, and we have
Jerry?
Jerry, like I'm doing, it's a Seinfeld thing.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it.
I was doing a George Costanza thing. Whatever.
Okay, go for it.
We have so many things going on right now. Not only do we have a lot of games to talk about and a lot of stuff we've been playing and future things, but we have a lot of events going on, a lot of ways that you guys can get involved and play with all of us, because just, you know, especially just with Splatoon, just galvanizing everything that, and the group play lately, It really is a golden age to be a Switch owner right now. We've hit a real new height of connected play, and I'm looking forward to getting as many of you involved as we can right now.
I love how welcome and opening our community is, and I implore every one of you to join it. Our community is big enough to the point where if you want to play something multiplayer with someone out there, someone in the Discord's probably going to join you.
Well, we've already got some gears in motion. We've been putting together a little bit of, it started to kick off team building today, and I finally hit, let's say, like ranked level in the game in Splatoon 2, and so I've been kind of eyeing making a group just to kind of lead. I'm not even like looking to like dominate or like that. I just wanted to find any other people who want to form a static group that we kind of like make a team with, and hope that kind of gets the ball rolling, and maybe we can see some more groups pop up. I'll just give a shout out right now for Dr. Panda, Shell Shock, and Chewy, who have formed with me the Inquisition.
I didn't expect it.
No one expects the Inquisition. And honestly, it was just made, only criteria was who's available Monday nights to practice with me when I'm free to play, with everybody. That was pretty much the only requirement. We're not looking for like master levels, but hopefully I'm actually, it turns out I'm the only one who isn't unlocked for league play yet, so I have to hit.
You're the slacker, Casey. You're the one holding the team back.
Just got ranked. Look, in the last hour or 2 hours, I've gone from C- to C+, so I'm on the cusp of the B- that's required to be a league player, and then we could play as our team and in that mode, and start forming that kind of team strategy that we've been looking for. And I gotta say, I found I'm 100% committed. That Octobrush, that is my weapon, and that is who I am on the field.
Oh yeah. It's funny that you brought up the Octobrush, because I definitely found that I'm gravitating more towards the Slosher. They kind of do complement each other in a way because of how frantic and up close you have to be with the Octobrush, while with a Slosher, it can really be used as a support weapon to back up any forward vanguards while getting at weird, interesting corners. That's how I've been using it, and how I've been really successful so far.
Have you been, are you eyeing making your own little static team yet? Have you gotten to that point in the game yet, or do you still have a little while to go?
Oh yeah, I've just recently unlocked ranked mode myself, and I will probably start figuring out a static team, though I really want to start pushing out for more widespread tournaments so that all of you community members can start forming your own teams in preparation for facing against each other.
Yes, and speaking of tournaments, we have the finals coming this weekend for the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Switch Cup. I just got back from Philly, so I had a whole lot of stuff that was up in the air, and I wasn't able to follow up on last week's tournament, results, and keep people updated. So we weren't able to have it this Thursday. But if every single person who's in the finals is accommodated by the Sunday schedule that I've proposed them, we will be having that this weekend, and we'll finally have a winner. And the finalists, I just want to give an announcement. These are the people who have made it through the semifinals and are going on for the chance to win the NES Classic. And they are Dan, Wave Too High, Tendo, Argan, Pedro RVD, and Scott. These are the creme de la creme of our Mario Kart racers. And as soon as we have a winner for that, we're hitting the ground. We're not even wasting any time. We're going right into the next tournaments. We can't wait to start throwing more of these just because it's really been a great motivating element in the chat. Just been, getting discussion going, getting people hyped and getting people together. So I think we were talking about maybe running 2 tournaments back to back as soon as this is done.
Yes. We don't want to commit to anything specifically quite yet, but it feels like we're hinting towards an ARMS single-day tournament while having another Splatoon multi-day tournament. So
right, yeah.
That's definitely something that I'm really excited to push out there. And you know what? This is something that really excites our community, and we're just going to keep rolling with these tournaments and getting good prizes for you guys.
Yeah, I'm a little exhausted from playing this to do another long-term tournament. So yes, a 1-day ARMS tournament. Just everybody shows up. We all play for a few hours and get a winner. And then maybe right after that, we'll plan another, our own Splatoon league. If you can organize matches, I guess you can make private rooms, right?
You can make housekeeping. You can make private rooms, and in private rooms, you can even have 2 spectators.
Okay.
So that's cool. Why I was investigating getting the Elgato so that we can record video of the spectators and maybe put it up on YouTube or something.
Oh, right. And speaking of that, just a quick mention, Shellshock actually did record a few of our Mario Kart tournament races, and he posted those up on YouTube. I should give a little link to that there too, just to see what some of the performance out there, guys. And hopefully, if you get involved with that, I would love it if we could start adding actual commentary and that kind of thing to the mix there.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting us, and especially considering all the support you guys have provided us on Patreon. We really want to step up our game and even provide some video content like that. So we're looking into getting as much content out there as possible with all of your Patreon support.
Speaking of the Patreon also, I just want to note that by the time this posts or shortly thereafter, I hope to have up my next thoughts on the podcast post on the Patreon site. So if you are a patron, it'll just be another, basically just a blog post from me to you, telling you about some of the stuff we're working on, what are some of our plans, things I'm kicking around, just, kind of a inside look at what we're working on and just ideas that I'm kind of debating with. And your feedback really means a lot to me, and everyone who's ever messaged me about my previous posts on there, I really appreciate it, just to get any kind of opinion, because honestly, I really want to make you guys happy. And and it's tough to make decisions without any kind of, you guys, I know you guys are nice that I could probably make the worst decision in the world, and sometimes you guys just be like, whatever, man, that was awesome. But asking you in advance and getting your opinions just makes me feel a little bit more confident that I'm in the right direction. So definitely any feedback on there is highly appreciated. So check out on the Patreon site, patreon.com/theswitchcast. If you aren't a patron yet, definitely check, maybe you could support it so you can start checking in on what I have to say there as well.
Exactly. And there's definitely a lot of talk of things to come, but what have you been playing, Casey?
Oh, yeah. So let's just segue into the playtime. In fact, I'm not even going to do the musical transition just because it's so smooth. Let's just go right into this here. All right.
Smooth transition.
Yes.
right.
Well, other than Splatoon 2, and we will catch up a little bit more on that, but I think that let's start off with some of the new things I got my hands on. I actually got Cave Story Plus in this week.
Oh, yeah. Is this the first time you've actually played Cave Story, or have you played it before?
I played it on PC way back a long time ago, because if anyone's not familiar, this was a single producer game. Like, it was a game made by one guy, everything from the art to the music to the gameplay, and he posted it for free online. Like, you could still go online and download the original Cave Story for free and play it on there. And it's the only reason to even have a controller for a computer. Like, it's the only reason. But, you know,
that's a valid reason to have one, to be honest.
Yeah.
Cave Story is a very well-renowned game. So having it on the Switch is a real boon for the system.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's been re-released a few other times. As is evident when you start this game up, there's like 5 options for the soundtrack that you can choose from. Like, there's the remastered, the original Famicom soundtrack. There's some Organaya version of it. And there's a Cave Story Plus version, I guess where they really
remixed it.
There is a remixed version, and then there's this one, which is almost like actually a different soundtrack, where they actually change the songs rather than just remix the originals. At least that's what it sounds like to me so far.
Yeah, it's honestly, I haven't played Cave Story myself, but looking at the art and the music, I actually really find the art style to be endearing, even though I haven't delved into the game itself.
In regards to the art style, I was actually kind of surprised that the game did not come with the option to play it in the original graphics. It has the updated graphics, which I did get used to. When I first turned this game on, I was really turned off originally by the updated, you know, smoother, cleaner graphics that are a little more detailed. They're still like, you know, they're not like fancy, you know, 64 bits or anything like that. It's still like a 16-bit game at best, which is nice.
But they really smoothed out the animations and made it a lot more modern.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit so. And I was actually turned off at first, and I guess I've just gotten used to it now, and I've kind of accepted it. It's still got the same charm and a lot of cute character portraits and stuff like that. There is an update coming this month where you can finally go back to the original art as an option, which I feel like is probably something that was popular demanded by people, and right. I just don't know why it wasn't there originally. I probably would have been playing it like that from the beginning, but whatever. It's not the biggest deal in the world.
Yeah, there's definitely a subset of people who really are a big fan of that original art style.
Yeah.
And it's cool that they're getting so much feedback about it that they're willing to implement it after the fact.
Yeah, that's my guess, at least, of what happened. But the gameplay, okay, so if anyone is not familiar, the gameplay, it is this kind of mysterious, story-driven action platformer. You start off just waking up in a cave with nothing, no weapons or anything like that, and you just start getting these weird messages from some guy trapped somewhere in there, and you just start exploring. Eventually, quickly, you pick up a weapon, you get some heart containers. It feels kind of Metroid-y, but it's a little more... It feels like a Metroidvania, but it's definitely more linear, where they guide you to different sections in a very specific order, and you play through them like an adventure platformer. And you get to one stage, and you kind of beat that area, and you really don't go back to areas, except for maybe like a storyline purpose here or there.
Right.
The coolest thing about the game is the weapon system. You pick up a lot of different weapons, and you get like 4 or 5 different weapons, and you switch between, I give them missiles. You have this machine gun, this weird bubble shooter, and you pick up items. Enemies drop these little XP triangles, and you can level up your weapon. But as you get hit, you might lose XP, and it'll power down. So every weapon has like 3 levels that you can power it up as long as you don't get hurt too much. And they all have very different functionalities. They really add a lot of options to how you handle different challenges, especially the bosses and the like. And as the game goes on, you even have choices of which ones you want to get. Like, there's a character who might say, "Oh, I'll trade you my machine gun for your North Star pistol," and you could take it, you can leave it. If you don't trade for it, maybe someone will trade you or upgrade your weapon later on. So there's a lot of different ways to play through the game.
And now, are those trades permanent? You can't get those weapons back?
Correct. Like if you trade, like the machine gun's really cool because if you trade for that, it actually almost acts like a hover machine because you can shoot it straight down and it throws you up in the air. It's like so powerful. So it acts like a flotation device. But if you trade for that early on, you can't get a different weapon they give you later on in the game if you hold on to your North Star, it's called, the gun.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. So it really changes how you play the game because now you don't have that hover ability, which means you have to rely a little bit more on your jumping skills.
Okay.
The main thing about the game is the story is really cute and sad. Like it seems very like just charming with, you meet these weird bunny people called them Amigas, and there's some scientist who's capturing them and using them for these experiments, and he's trying to turn them into like these death machines where like there's a certain flower they can eat, and they're so adorable, and they're nice peoples, but they come to sad fates in this game, some of them, and it's not
is that a spoiler?
It's not. It's a basic premise of the game is that like even, all right, like there's monsters that you fight in the game that they don't say like you don't realize it, but you fight these monsters, but as you go on, you realize that, oh, that's a Amiga that's been turned into this monster, and there's no like saving them. You kill them and that's it. There's no like, they just revert, and that's kind of just a basic premise of the game is that this doctor is trying to turn them all into these monsters. But along the way, you're fighting these monsters, and every one of them was just a nice, peaceful little bunny person before. And it's kind of a little sad tone to it. And it goes on, and there's a lot of cool characters along the way. But
it does sound really good, though. If, let's say I've played Cave Story before, is this something that would be worth picking up again on the Switch?
Well, they added a few extra things that might make it interesting for you. If you remember the game originally, there is a hard mode you can play it through. Though I actually started playing this first on hard mode, but I was a little disappointed in how they make the game harder. It's not like they pumped up the enemies or what they do or the actual challenge of the stages. They just don't let you get any heart containers, so you always have like 3 hit points, which means after a certain point in the game, everything one-shots you. So that means you have to fight bosses pretty much perfectly and that. And it's not the kind of challenge that seems fun. It's just like an achievement almost. It's like, okay, you're playing it without these types of weapons. There's a few weapons they take away, and there's no heart containers. I didn't like it, and I just got frustrating beating bosses perfectly, so I started it over in normal mode. But there's also a challenge mode, which is specially designed stages that are really tough, and you have to get through them, and you have to use different weapons along the way for different parts of it. Those are actually kind of fun. They're pretty long, and you have to do it all in one life. If you get all the way through this like gauntlet of challenges, but if you do it, you get a little achievement in the game. So that's kind of fun.
Okay. So there is actual content that you haven't really been able to experience beforehand.
Yeah, if you want those challenge modes. But honestly, I don't think the game if you bought this game already on 3DS recently, if you've played any of the remakes before, I probably wouldn't say this is a game that feels super worth it. But I haven't played this game in like 6 years or so it's worth it for me.
Yeah, it sounds like it's something that would be really worth revisiting if you haven't played it in a while. But they have so many releases and re-releases of this game.
Right.
If you're a big fan of Cave Story, you've probably picked up a re-release before.
But if you haven't played Cave Story on anything before, then I would definitely give this game a big recommendation. It's not even that long a game. You can probably beat it in about a week of playing it pretty regularly. There's some hard parts. The only frustrating thing I'll say about playing it is I would suggest looking up a spoiler-free guide to getting the best ending in the game, because there's just like one of those games where it's like, Like, you literally can be locked out of the best ending for just talking to a guy you have no reason not to talk to. There's like just one part.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's just one part. You're like, oh, I should talk to this guy. And then if you talk to this guy,
it's too late. You're done.
Yeah, that's it. It's not even like he gives you an option like, hey, if you say yes, I will do this thing that gives you the bad ending. Or if you say no, I will not give you this thing that gives you the bad ending. No, it's just you talk to him, you're locked in. And it almost seems counterintuitive. It's like, you see this person, I will want to talk to him. That's the kind of game this is. You talk to people, but whatever.
Okay. Do you know how early on in the game that is?
That's about, I'd say, a third of the way through, maybe.
Wow, so pretty early on then.
Yeah, that's the main thing with that. I mean, there's a few other little things, like, definitely look up a spoiler-free guide. Like, there's an item you have to pick up before you fight a certain boss, but the item is in, like, the boss's room, but if you start the boss fight, that's it. That item gets, like, washed away, and you can't pick it up after the fight. Like, little stupid things like that lock you out of the best ending. And
Now, so it does have a $30 price tag. You'd say it was worth it for you?
I would say it's worth the $30 if you've never played this game before. If you've played it before in any form, that's kind of an iffy. Like, if you played any of the remakes, I'd probably say not worth it. But if you've never played this game, this is a new game to you, I would say that's definitely a fair price for it. For a totally new experience, maybe play it through a few times and play through the different weapon paths that are possible, because the different weapons you could play through it all give you a different sense of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's just like a game like Blaster Master, where they release new characters each time, and the characters have varied types of gameplay that refresh and add a replayability to it.
Yeah,
It seems like it's similar to that.
And it's even for this silly game that I've played for free so long ago, and just remember the story honestly, like, stuck with me. Like, some of these characters I really remember. It's a surprisingly memorable game. And it actually reminds me, there's that game coming out by Nicholas also that we talked about a while back. It's called Blade Strangers. One of the characters, it's that weird fighting game with a mishmash of different game characters. And one of the characters from this game is in that. Her name's Curly. She is one of the characters you'll meet along the way. I won't say anything about her, but she's cool. She's a character I really liked in this game. And it's one of the few points I actually have why I'm interested in Blade Strangers.
Okay. Well, I definitely did not play a game quite as robust story-wise.
Okay.
I picked up Overcooked.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, for some reason, before we announced or we mentioned that we were going to review this game, people were actually requesting our opinion about it.
Yeah. Everyone was like, they really wanted to make sure we gave this game some due credit or observation, at least.
Exactly. They wanted to make sure that we did not overlook Overcooked.
Yes.
So yeah,
waka waka.
So I picked up Overcooked, and it's definitely interesting right from the get-go. So Overcooked is a top-down cooking game where you control a little chef to run around a kitchen and perform pretty standard culinary tasks. I hopped into this game not really expecting a premise, and I just thought it was going to be a mishmash of multiplayer stages. But from the start, it has kind of a dark story, or at least a dark premise.
Really?
Yeah. So when you start the game, you're shown a burned down city with meteors coming from the sky, and there's this guru onion that's talking to you, telling you that you have to devise an amazing culinary experience for this gigantic noodly monster that you have to appease. So immediately
it's a flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah, I thought it was a flying spaghetti monster. It's not the exact design of it, but it is literally a flying spaghetti monster.
Oh boy.
So it starts you off, and you have to go on the stage and you perform your Overcooked tasks, and obviously it works as a tutorial, but you fail, and the guru onion master and his adorably angry dog warp everyone back in time. So the ultimate premise of the game is that you're a chef that is working to improve their skills to appease this giant spaghetti monster in an inevitable apocalyptic future.
Okay.
It's kind of cool. Ultimately,
unexpected, I gotta say.
Yeah, that was a huge swerve for me, and I did not expect that. But, going to the core elements of the game, you're a chef, you're in really wacky kitchens, and you're performing culinary tasks in a small time limit.
Okay.
While wild and crazy stuff happens all around you. The controls themselves are actually pretty simple. You move around with the left joystick. You have one button that picks up an object, like an ingredient or dish, and the other button performs an action based on the station you're at.
Okay.
So if you're in the chopping station, you chop stuff. If you're on the stove, you cook the ingredient that you're holding. In the sink, you wash dishes, etc., etc. Essentially, you have a lot of different tasks that are available to you, and you have to coordinate with your teammates in order to make sure those tasks are done in a specific amount of time.
Okay.
So, the game starts off relatively simple since you work in a pretty standard kitchen. However, as levels progress, your chef team is forced to cook in more increasingly zany situations.
All right. I did see some screenshots where you're cooking like on an ice or on a frozen lake or something.
It's real weird. Like, you start off in a kitchen, then you're on the road, then you go to a pirate ship. Later on, you're cooking in a building affected by an earthquake. Then even later on, you're on a freaking space station. So
nice.
it's definitely a huge balancing act. Everything is affecting your ability to perform these tasks, and you really need to coordinate with your teammates for this type of game.
So I assume like those kind of stages have an effect on how you move. Like if you're on the space station, or you're like 0G or something.
Yeah,
or
it sometimes affects the physics of the game. Your tables might shift because the boat is rocking back and forth.
I got you.
Yeah, honestly, the best part about this game is the local co-op experience.
Okay.
Since I really wouldn't want to play this game solo.
So it does support solo play?
Yes, it does support solo play, and it pares down the difficulty of the game based on how many players are involved.
Okay.
So in local and co-op mode, there you can play about 2 to 4 players, and they each control their own chef. And they're all each trying to contribute to fulfilling the orders that are listed on the top left of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
In single player, you can switch around and control multiple chefs to fulfill the same orders, and it becomes a little less frantic that way, and it seems a little boring.
Okay, I got you.
But it's awesome. The situations they put you in are so frantic, KC.
It goes up to 4 players?
Yes, it goes up to a full 4 players, and the state of the kitchen is always shifting, so you have to... It really tests your problem-solving skills and teamwork skills in order to get a good assembly line type system with your teammates. It requires a lot of communication, and I was talking constantly with my friends throughout this game.
Okay, how many people have you played with it max so far? Have you gotten a whole 4-player experience, or...?
I've primarily played in 2-player.
Okay.
Though I have been able to hop into a bunch of 4-player games. 2-player is really nice because it feels like snipper clips.
Okay.
Where you can really pin down a strategy with another person and try to implement that. 4
and that's
players
all on one screen always, right?
Yes. It's all on one screen. There is no online multiplayer. It's local co-op.
Gotcha. Okay.
And honestly, I don't think the level of exciting franticness can be replaced or replicated in a single-player experience.
Yeah, man, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it has, like, is it replayable? Like, always, like, even once you've beaten the stage, it's still fun to do again with people? Or once you've beaten a stage, you've kind of felt like, nah, I'm done with that?
Well, it depends on what type of player you are.
Okay.
After each stage, it rates you with a 1 to 3 star rating based on your performance in the level. And some people would just skip to the next stage automatically. and ignore that score to progress.
I gotcha, yeah.
And obviously, some people would really want to just make sure they have all 3 stars in every stage. And that's something that really is up to you.
Okay.
And I do have to say that this game does have a few frame rate issues on the Switch.
Oh, really?
So, this is a type of game that requires that you be as quick and precise as possible in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And while I didn't really experience any crippling frame rate issues that deterred the overall enjoyment of the game, it was still kind of noticeable, and it made some of the inputs a little bit less precise than I would have liked.
Okay. That's maybe, hopefully, that's something they can smooth out in an update. Then, if I feel that that's an issue that diminishes the experience of the game.
Yeah, it's a software related issue. You can definitely tell, and I believe they announced that they're working on a patch to be released quickly. But that's a bit of a blemish, and honestly, otherwise, great game.
How long? How many different stages are there? Like, how many hours do you think you can get out of this game with a group of people?
I haven't finished the game yet.
Okay.
There's a lot of stages. I believe it was listed to have 40 stages.
Oh, okay. That's pretty decent. Yeah.
Yes. And each stage requires about, I believe it's 3 minutes to complete the time. So 3 times 40 is 120. That's about 2 hours worth of actual gameplay.
If you just beat it, every time, first try, and don't try to get perfect scores.
Ultimately, I actually would recommend this game to anyone who knows that they'll be playing their Switch in co-op situations.
Okay, cool.
The game is $20, and if you're a fan of co-op multiplayer games like Death Squared or Snipper Clips, this is just another awesome addition to that style of game. I would highly recommend it, especially once they release that frame rate patch. Honestly, that frame rate issue isn't that big of a deal. I still played it and had fun, but it's something that would really improve your experience.
Cool. Very cool. All right.
Yeah.
One more multiplayer co-op game on the pile here for the Switch.
Yeah. I feel like that's where the Switch thrives.
I feel like we've had at least one co-op game to talk about every week, whether it's the main game or if we're talking about like Salmon Run on Splatoon 2. Like, there's some co-op thing to talk about every week here.
The Switch is perfect for that type of gameplay because it's a portable co-op system on the go. I could bring my Switch and share the joy with someone and have them play these missions with me wherever I am.
I do want to get some Salmon Run in tomorrow. I have the Switch Fest tomorrow night, and tonight by the time this posts, and I'm hoping to, other than the PvP stuff, which I'm sure we'll do, but that's something you could do online anytime. I really want to focus on some Salmon Run tomorrow, though. So, where are you with Splatoon 2 right now? I mean, have you, what have you been focusing on this week?
Well, Splatoon 2 has been, is really been one of those games that I'm trying to pace myself a little bit on. Because when it comes to competitive games, I get so hardcore about it that it's all I play. And that kind of doesn't leave as much room for games like Overcooked for me.
Right, yeah.
But I've, as I mentioned previously, I've really started liking the slosher, and I'm working on upgrading my level to unlock all the different types of sloshers out there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm a slosher man.
Okay, that's good. No, that's really cool. I feel like the slosher is almost the opposite of the paintbrush because they're both these close range weapons, whereas the slosher is like this focused short range blast. The brush is like a wide arc of damage. Like I find if I time myself right and I sneak up behind a group, I can take out 3 people at once just by getting behind them and like whacking them all in my little arc there. At the same time, I've seen sloshers, if they get either at the top of something or if there's 3 people running at them, they'll just slosh all 3 in a line and take out everybody in one shot like that.
Right. For me, the way I've been playing my slosher with actually really good success, I've been playing a support role to people who use the roller or the brushes. I let them lead the path, and I work with my slosher to cover their back, essentially.
I get you, yeah.
And that lets me get at different angles and different positions that they would otherwise not be able to cover.
Now, have you been playing the ranked mode matches this week?
I have not delved into rank yet because I'm a little scared of MMR hell type stuff where you're stuck in a rank and you can't progress. So I want to make sure that all my skills are as consistent as possible before I jump in and start getting graded.
Okay, well, I've been playing it with my brush, with the Octo Brush now, and I didn't try this. I've only been playing the, the zone, the area.
Splat zones?
Splat zones, and the tower mode, and, the tower control one. I have not ever gone on when Rainmaker was the mode yet, so I still haven't gotten to try that yet, which is just kind of a weird system, but it's fine. Some people were telling me, a lot of people have had their best success with the splat zones, and I was having that at first too. But I think what all this really comes down to is learning the maps more than the modes, because once I spent my first night playing ranked just losing all the time, and it was awful. But I feel like today it clicked. I kind of realized what I'm supposed to do with my weapon with each of the maps that we were playing on. And I started learning, at least with me, the way I've been playing with the brush is let's say if it's tower mode, I'm not there to run with the tower. I'm not there to stand on it or, guard it directly. I end up going around the whole map basically and just kind of positioning and waiting for the time when the enemy rushes forward and basically get them from behind, because that's what that brush is really good for. Walking in enemy territory. It's like the spy in Team Fortress. Yes, because especially when there's snipers, the brush is the perfect weapon to go behind lines and get them from behind. And I feel like I'm the spy in a Team Fortress game.
Let's get a bit more topical here, KC.
Yeah.
You're kind of more like Genji or a Tracer in Overwatch.
Oh, okay.
Where you're supposed to get into the back line from behind and gank them.
Yeah, sure. If that's something, what's going on. I still think the Team Fortress archetypes are a little more universally understood than the specific, yeah,
I know. I just wanted to bring up Overwatch. Either way,
okay,
yes,
fair enough.
Either way, that's definitely a very valid and necessary role for ranked games, and I love that each weapon really has their own niche in ranked modes.
Yeah.
Like blasters in sloshers aren't necessarily the best weapons in something like Turf Wars, where it's just covering paint. With all of these focused goals in ranked modes, it really gives each weapon a niche that they can fulfill, and that really gets my mind going on team compositions and types of stuff like that.
What I like so far in tower control though is that a battle can end very fast. Like if you just have a great team,
a dominant team, and you just move in there, you could take that tower and get it to the goalpost, and the match could be over in less than a minute if you just get it all the way to the other side right away. And that's very gratifying. Sometimes like, all right, great. A lot of points. I got through with it. I mean, if it happens to you, it's not that worse. It's not long enough where you're suffering through it.
Yeah.
It's over quickly enough where you can just jump into a new game and try to make up for that loss.
But sometimes like I've had a lot of grueling battles where it even comes down to overtime, because I like the system of overtime, because if time runs out, they'll normally, whoever has the most points, like who's controlled the tower longer, wins. But if your team is in control and you're short on points, it'll go to overtime, and it'll stay that way until you either exceed the enemy's points or they take the tower back from you. So as long as you have the tower, you can't lose. And you could theoretically just make that one last push and just take it all the way to the goal. Even if you've been losing the whole game, there's that one chance for victory as long as you can make one great push at the end. But if you lose it for even a second, then it's game over. The other team wins. And it just adds a nice little, always a chance to win.
Comeback mechanic. Yeah, it's a comeback mechanic.
chances are it won't happen. But you know what? I have had some games where we were really being beat down, but I just happened to get like one good push at the right time, and we took it into the goal.
Yeah, and those moments always feel so satisfying.
I might as well mention here, even though it's kind of a thing. Did you try out that new weapon that they released this week?
No, I haven't gotten to try it. I've been really honing my craft as a slosher.
Okay, yeah, I haven't tried it either. I thought that the Octo Brush actually was a new update, but it was just one that I guess unlocked when I leveled up like that.
Right. So the new weapon that was released recently is the Dual Squelchers, which is actually pretty interesting. Dualies are not my style, but having dual Squelchers seems like a really cool idea. Yeah,
well, what do they do different? I did notice, because, going from one brush to the other, I liked how it was just that they tweaked the same mechanic where it's like, okay, like this brush takes a lot more ink, but it has more range and it's more PvP, like take out players, but it doesn't really have the same, it's not quite as fast and not as good at covering area as the regular ink brush. So it's a nice trade-off there. It's kind of interesting. And I like the mix-up of the sub-weapons they have with these alternate weapon choices.
Exactly. So the Dually Squelchers, they have a much longer range compared to normal dualies. Dualies have kind of a limited range to them. These double Squelchers really have a decent amount of range for the type of weapon it is. And with that benefits, you have to balance it out with a bit of a slower roll, and it doesn't fire quite as often. So it has a lower firing rate than most other dualies.
Okay. See, those are all really cool, like, custom tweaks with the different versions.
Like, if you like the base gameplay of a type of weapon, then you can look into the gallery of other small little gameplay tweaks to fit your playstyle exactly.
Okay, cool. So, are you getting a team together for anything?
I might do that, Casey, but I feel like I'm going to start focusing on working on our tournament system that we're going to have for this game. I definitely want to work on stepping it up a notch and making our next big tournament spectacular in its own way.
Okay. That's a fine cop-out.
You know what? Is that a challenge, Casey? Are
Not
you challenging
particularly,
me
more
of
just a tease, but if you want to take it as motivation, go for it.
Okay. We'll see.
Okay. All right, so awesome. That's a lot of stuff been going on, and I'm sure, hopefully I get to try out Rainmaker if I ever turn the game on for the right hour to try that mode out.
That's definitely something that's a little off-putting, especially for new players who haven't played Splatoon before.
Yeah.
A lot of the modes are linked to schedules, so you're not necessarily going to be able to access the mode that you like during the time that you have available to play.
Right.
Yes.
I will say I have definitely faded on the one-player mode, only because I mentioned I have Cave Story Plus, and I guess I kind of just wanted to focus on Splatoon now with the multiplayer, and when I want to play one player,
there are other games out there. Yeah,
there are other really strong one player. Not to say Splatoon 2 has a great one player mode, especially for this genre of game. It's just that, I when I'm playing Splatoon, I just have that urge. I want to be playing other people, and when I'm playing by myself, I want to, a more dedicated type of game for that. And Cave Story has really been filling that need. And, hopefully I can beat that game this week, and maybe I'll go back to it. Or maybe I'll go back and beat Zelda finally.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many good games on the Switch right now, and they're really pulling for your time, because a lot of them require quite a bit of investment.
Well, pulling for our time now is the news, so why don't we switch into that, go over the news of the week, and move on from there.
All right, let's go.
All right, we had a firmware update for your Switch, actually. I noticed some... Have you heard about this problem happening to people before?
Yes, so I heard, and I believe a couple people on the Discord chat reported that this was happening to them. Apparently, with firmware update 3.0.0, the Switch was starting to have battery indicator issues. So, once the battery reached 0%, sometimes people would be able to play past that 0%. Or maybe the Switch would run out of battery before it even reached the 0% point. These types of issues even prevented some people from being able to fully charge their battery.
Yeah.
Yes. So now, Nintendo released update 3.0.1 that resolved most of these battery-related issues.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are a few caveats to that. There are a couple of steps that you have to take with your battery in order to make sure that the issues are cleared up. And that's something you can look up in Nintendo's website directly. Yeah,
we'll leave a link to that. I mean, if this update does not fix the problem, then you might want to go through these little steps of, what they tell you to do and resetting it and how to kind of maybe fix the problem. But we got a couple of new characters revealed for Fire Emblem Warriors. I feel like this is going to be the start of, the long chain of 100 character reveals, kind of like a Smash Brothers sort of thing.
Oh, I dig it. So apparently Cordelia and female Robin are going to be included in Fire Emblem Warriors.
Yeah, so it's not just the male Robin, you'll have both versions of it. And Cordelia, that's the Pegasus rider that, which game was she from? Was she in, she wasn't in Fates, was she? Okay, so yeah, she's from Awakening, so I want to see how many different games they bring into this. I feel like they're going to make it a big reveal at some point when it's like, oh, we're going to have Ellawood from, Fire Emblem, the GBA one comes out here. Like, I think they're saving some surprises from a few games back still.
Yeah, and honestly, I played Fire Emblem Heroes for a while when it was first announced.
Right.
Or when it was first released. And it really got me attached to a lot of the Fire Emblem characters that I didn't even play their original games for.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm excited to see all these characters in action situations with Fire Emblem Warriors. So we'll see how that goes. I'm excited for these reveals.
They also have an update for Splatoon 2, version 1.1.2. Mostly some balancing stuff, just kind of, tweaked the damage and some features of a couple of the weapons. Nothing too bad, but just a balanced thing. Fixed a few issues with the ranking and the number of points needed to fill the power gauges here and there. We also got to see a new arena that is going to be randomly appearing for the Splatfests only. And this was originally being called the Twilight Zone, but I'm pretty sure that that's going to have a copyright issue in the U.S. So they're calling
renamed it. So they renamed it Shifty Station.
Yes,
which is honestly a pretty decent name, though. Twilight Zone is unbeatable as a name for a stage.
It's a pretty cool looking area here. It has like a dark kind of spacey theme going on with it. A lot of cool neon stuff. I'm looking forward to trying it.
Yes, and there are a lot of transforming platforms within the stage itself. So
right, and you never know. It's going to
be pretty crazy.
And you never know when it's going to pop up. So you could just be playing in a Splatfest, and then all of a sudden you're here, and that's the only time you're going to see it.
What's cool about this stage is that it's exclusive to Splatfest, so it doesn't outstay its welcome.
And are you going to be partaking, and on which side will you be partaking for?
Ketchup, obviously. I mean, that's just the way to go. Who would choose mayo over ketchup?
I don't know. Not somebody who wanted to have a mayo-based blog in the past.
Are you really in Team Mayo?
I'm so Team Mayo.
Oh my gosh!
Yes!
Ketchup is obviously superior. Come on.
Ketchup, please.
What? There are so many more foods that you could put ketchup in.
No, there isn't.
As opposed to mayo.
That is the exact nature of what my blog was. It was putting mayo on everything. It was called Better with Mayo, and every day I ate something different with mayonnaise.
You know what mayonnaise is made of?
Yeah, beautiful things like eggs and vinegar.
Yes.
Ketchup is
gross.
just, I think Pearl said it best. Ketchup is just tomato jam trying to pretend it's something else. It's tomato and sugar.
But tomatoes are just so versatile.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put that in so many things. And it's used way more often.
I don't think so. I think mayonnaise is a much more popular condiment around the world. Ketchup's like an American thing, sure.
Sure, but what region are we in right now, Casey?
Globally, mayonnaise is the way to go.
Honestly, if they had team mustard, I'd go with mustard. but ketchup all the way.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on, we have Rhyme is getting a special collector's edition they actually showed off with a bunch of extra goodies for those who really want to get into this. It was just revealed on Amazon Spain, and alongside the special edition version of the game, there's a whole bunch of, there's a map, it looks like, a CD, an art book, and it has this big, nice collector's box. So if this is a game that you want to, have shown off with a few extra little, goodies, you might want to look into the Rhyme Collector's Edition.
I actually played Rhyme at the PAX South recently, and I was able to grab a bit of Rhyme swag too. So I have a Rhyme plushie, the Fox companion in the game, that I might throw in as a prize for one of our tournaments in the future.
All right, very cool. Also, pretty good news. It seems like Capcom has been spurred on a little bit by the surprising, honestly, success of Street Fighter II, which sold 450,000 units in the first quarter. And that's above their expectations. So according at least to the Wall Street Journal writer, Takashi Mochizuki, he wrote that they have started to prepare multiple Switch version titles. And that wording is pretty important, I think. Switch version titles, meaning they're going to be bringing things to Switch, not necessarily making any original titles for it, but that might include possibly a Monster Hunter that we've been hoping to get over there. Like we said, we never ruled it out as an option. It just kind of sounded like they were like, we might do it.
You mean Monster Hunter World?
I don't know about World, but I'm thinking,
Double Cross?
Yeah, I'm thinking Double Cross is the most likely candidate.
It's apparently Capcom was able to port their MT Framework engine over to the Nintendo Switch, and that's the engine that Monster Hunter World uses, so it's possible.
Okay.
It's still a possibility, Casey.
Either of those would be awesome, honestly. Double X is what I'm holding out for.
Yeah, I think that one's definitely, Double Cross is definitely more feasible, but
because World is a game that really thrives on the internet connectivity, and not to say that the Switch isn't, obviously it's not, it's capable of that, but I feel like Double Cross is more focused on the local multiplayer than World is.
Right.
Only reason I would say that.
One can dream, Casey.
Oh, no, yeah, definitely. Dream big, man.
Yes, I will dream it.
Speaking of dreaming big, we mentioned a little bit before the Better Together update for Minecraft. Apparently, that is also bringing the world sizes up to infinite.
Infinite. Yeah, it can't get bigger than infinite. Which is honestly something that the PC Minecraft players have really lorded over console players with. So the fact that at least on the Switch and Xbox One, Minecraft is getting infinite world sizes means that is just yet another limitation relinquished from the console versions of the game.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. So you can just go off in one direction pretty much all you want and just keep finding new stuff. If you are still playing Graceful Explosion Machine or want a reason to check back on it, there is a new update available for it right now. It just has some tweaks to the game. The score screen has been breaks down things into how much each weapon was used or other little things like how often you got hit. And it also added this cool little play of the game feature where it figures out whatever screenshot shows off the most impressive moment of your run of the game. So maybe a reason to check, load that game up again.
Right, and they did do a bit of a loading optimization fix. So
right.
That's a bit of a bonus.
Yeah, cuts it down in half, I believe, the loading time.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, finally, on the news, I wanted to get your opinion on this new Kickstarter, just launched today, and I just watched a live stream of the developer showing this game off. They're actually in Texas, this group.
Yeah, El Paso, it seems.
Yes, in El Paso, Texas. Ask an Enemy Studios. But yeah, I got in touch with JC Salinas. Oh man, that's like if you and I had a baby, JV.
Yeah, if we fusion danced and combined into one form, we would be JC.
But this is a interesting title. It's called Trackher. It's spelled track, H-E-R, so it's like tracker, but Trackher. And this is I call this a multitasking shoot 'em up, but they have dubbed it a split screen single player twin stick risk 'em up.
Interesting. Okay.
The way this game plays out, so it's a little hard to explain. You actually really have to see what this looks like, and I'll link to the Kickstarter if you guys want to check this out. But it's a split screen, and on the left side, you have like a spaceship in what looks like a top-down shmup type game. And, ships come from the top, and with one joystick, you can control it left, right, and shoot the things coming in from the top of the screen. On the right side of the screen, you're controlling a different ship in a 360-degree kind of map. And it's just trying to avoid dangers. It's not really the offensive ship. And what you have to do is these two things that you're doing are all tied together. Now, the left side, blowing up ships, earns you score. On the right side, you're flying around collecting materials, which increase your multiplier. And in the most simplest sense, while you're simultaneously controlling these two ships, you're trying to build up the biggest score you can, but your score only counts if you complete the mission, and when you're ready to kind of like escape the danger, you can escape it. But if you ever die, that's it. Doesn't matter what score you built up. That is all like zero, basically.
Right. Okay, so you essentially play this multitasking game to rack up your points, and then when you feel like you can just cash it in, you cash it in, right? Yeah, if you feel the risk starts to get too high, then you can just cash in your score, and that's what it is.
Right. That's the most simplest way to explain the game, but there's a lot of interactions between the two screens, whereas as you collect materials in the right side, that also makes power-ups drop on the left side. If any of the enemies slip by you on the left side, they spawn on the right side. And the left screen's actually invincible. Like, you can't die there, but the right side is what can get blown up. And so if you start missing guys on the left side, the right side gets more hectic and there's more things to dodge, and you have to balance all that kind of danger going on there. And again, things start amping up, but the longer you stay in, that multiplier keeps building up, and that's just going to exponentially. So like another minute of holding out could be the difference of like tripling your score. But again, yeah, the risks are all there. And there's a lot of other little things that tie the two sides together. The more you control the left side, it starts losing connection. Like every action you do on the left side reduces that, and you have to gather stuff on the right side to reestablish that connection. Otherwise, it'll just blank out and it'll die entirely. So again, there's a lot of stuff to balance here. It's probably the kind of thing that you'll have no idea what you're doing like the first 20 minutes, but then I think it looks like you'll click, and it's not actually as overwhelming as I make this sound. It's just really hard to explain, and you really have to see what this looks like.
Honestly, this game looks like a ton of fun. I like the design choice of this, and I don't think I've experienced such a multitasking style game since The World Ends With You on the DS.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think this is definitely a game that's way more out, because I'm not a score chase guy, but I know that you're kind of into that. And that's a really big thing about this game, is like trying to get up on the leaderboards. They even have a thing where in one of the modes, or you can wager your score from the previous game. And if you exceed your previous score, it'll add a bonus to the current score. But if you die in that next game, you lose both
your
scores.
Previous score.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So it's kind of a very tense game in every possible respect. I definitely think you guys should check out what this looks like, though. And again, if it looks like it's something for you, you can back the Kickstarter here, and we'll see how this comes along. And it's coming out for Switch and a whole bunch of other things as well.
Right. That's definitely something I'm going to check out. And I wonder if they can make this some sort of co-op mode if someone doesn't want to play multiplayer. Or single.
I don't see why not, because honestly, since the way I think it's controlled, I didn't see him physically holding it, but I think it's obviously, left Joy-Con controls left screen, right Joy-Con controls right screen, and it's meant to be played by one person, but there's really no reason, kind of like with Tumbleseed, there's no reason why you can't just have one player focusing on the left side and the right player focusing on the right side.
Yeah, and if that becomes the case, then bam, built-in co-op mode right there.
Yeah, really. All right, so down the pipe, we have a few games to go over here, and I only briefly want to mention this first one of Shinobi Raffle Senran Kagura, which is that...
Ecchi.
Yeah, it's the ecchi. It's not... If anyone is a fan of Senran Kagura, this isn't another fighting style game. In fact, neither of these two games I'm about to mention, they're both in the Senran Kagura universe, but this one... The first one is, it looks like a text adventure kind of game with touching
like
physics.
Like a visual novel?
Kind of, yeah. And then Peach Ball, which is a pinball game with the Kagura, basically anthropomorphic girls who just kind of sit there and you play pinball on them.
Like on their actual bodies?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah. The quote from the developer is... This is something I've always wanted to do.
Oh, man.
And I can't read the rest of this, actually. Well, moving on. This is the police. Appropriate follow-up for this guy.
Oh, yeah.
This is coming
like
September 29th. This is an interesting mix that I'm actually kind of interested in. This is a mix of resource management and kind of a drama game. You are running a police department and you have to keep crimes down. So you have to distribute, your officers to different cases, and you're trying to gather resources. You have to build up $500,000 for something in a certain amount of time. But then there's also this storyline of, these crimes that come up, and you have to make decisions based on your ethics as a cop and the requirement of the story that you have to raise this money. Will you try to do it through totally, moral means, or are you going to bend the law here and there in order to, meet your goals? And it seems like it's a cool kind of twist on, it's not just a sim game. It's a sim game with this weird drama and moral choices.
Interesting. I like that take on this genre.
Yeah.
I felt like sim games are great, but you start to get into a loop.
Right.
When you're playing it, and the fact that this has story elements to it gives it that extra twist to really push you to experience it.
A lot of those games you feel too distant, I feel sometimes. It's just like you're playing with, your toys and they don't really mean anything to you. But now it adds character, a little personality, and, it means something. That's cool.
Now, this next game that's coming out is actually pretty exciting for me. Apparently, Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 are coming to the Switch later in 2017. The double pack is $40, and each single digital download is $20 if you want them separate. I actually really like Resident Evil Revelations, that series, because it really brought the Resident Evil series back to its horror roots during a time when they really started to get more action schlocky in their games.
Is this like a remake of one of the older ones? I don't remember which ones.
Right. The first Resident Evil Revelations came out on the 3DS, I believe, in around 2012.
Oh, okay.
And they re-released an HD remake on the Wii U, but yeah, this is coming out on the Switch. And I'm excited for it. It had a pretty interesting co-op mode.
All right, very cool. Oh, it had a co-op.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
And I enjoyed it. It's really cool.
all right. The game that I'm going to the game that I used the music for this transition was called The Sexy Brutale. This is a pretty cool concept for a murder mystery game. It takes place in a casino called The Sexy Brutale, and it is a murder mystery game with this twist that there's a time loop. So basically, the people get murdered, but then you kind of go back in time, and you have to try to prevent the murders as you've seen them. And I think every time you go through the loop, you change things just a little bit, but maybe you don't solve the crime each time, or maybe, something more horrible happens this time. But the people of this casino are getting killed off, and you have to kind of find a way to break the cycle and stop the murders. And it's got it's got a cool art style too. It's just, it's still cartoony but grim,
Right. Yeah. Considering the name, I was expecting one of those fan service type game, kind of like Senran Kagura.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
It looks like a classy, dark, interesting game.
Yeah. This is from Nippon Ichi, and they kind of have a good balance of the the aesthetics and being a mature but still kind of cartoony stuff going on here.
Right. Exactly.
Batman Telltale game. This came out a while ago, so they're bringing it over to the Switch now, in case anyone wants another of these, the moral decision-making, story-driven games, but with Batman.
Right. This isn't a guaranteed thing. It looks like there was a leaked listing for the game from a Russian retailer and a Spanish retailer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily a guaranteed announcement, but honestly, I think the Switch would be the perfect platform for Telltale games.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And Descenders, which is a downhill, BMX type game with, riding down. It kind of sounds like an SSX tricky game with bikes.
Yeah, Descenders. Well, it's actually a pretty apt name for it. So.
Yeah, so that's due next year. So the new releases this week, we have Aero Fighters 2, which is a, shoot 'em up game. That's another Neo Geo classic. Puzzle Adventure Blockle.
Yeah, this is a puzzle game with a lewd, Senran Kagura style lewd character on the front.
It has a little, some cutesy, overly, it doesn't look too gratuitous, but it just has extra cutesy, attractive anime characters on it.
Yes, right, and it's a puzzle style game that looks pretty frantic.
Retro City Rampage DX.
Yep. So it's a re-release of Retro City Rampage.
Mm-hmm.
And the next game, Use Your Words.
Yep. This is the party game. It's a little more adult intended, but it's the party game. It's kind of like Cards Against Humanity. You're going to fill in stuff based on the questions they give, and all sorts of little word games like that. But it has some lewd humor in it. That's the main thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And next week we can look forward to Flip Wars, that multiplayer color flipping kind of game, and Ironcast, which is the puzzle game with the steampunk robots.
Yes, I definitely want to try that out. So I honestly want to try Flip Wars and Ironcast out.
Yes. All right, so Community Pulse, let's wrap this up with just a couple of questions from the listeners. All right. Which one do you like?
All right. I gotta say, Monty definitely hit the nail on the head for a question that's tailor-made to my tastes.
All right, go right for it.
Monty said, with the lack of mech games in the market, what kind of mech games would you like to see come to the Switch?
All right, hit it up.
Oh, Monty, you know me so well. So, immediately, I definitely would love for them to release a Gundam Versus game, since I absolutely love those Gundam-style fighting games. Armored Core would be a great game to bring over because I also love those third-person customizable mech games that used to be popular a while back. Custom Robo would also be a really good game since I love that isometric customizable character mech multiplayer. Zone of the Enders would be great to bring in to the Switch. What, you don't like Zone of Enders?
That's okay.
Did you play Zone of Enders 2?
I didn't play 2, but if you're saying Zone of the Enders 2, okay, maybe, but Zone of Enders 1 was kind of a...
I'm talking about the franchise, Casey, and honestly, we're not friends anymore if you don't like Zone of Enders.
Zone of Enders 1 was kind of considered a disaster.
It's not, no. Zone of Enders 1 was one of those games that you got through to get to Zone of Enders 2. Okay,
fine. No, Zone of Enders was a game you got because it came with the Final Fantasy VIII demo.
Yeah, and Zone of Enders 2 was the one that came out with the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo.
Right. I'll just say the only one I'd be interested in, something I haven't played for a long time, but Front Mission was a tactics game, and I liked the idea of a tactics game where every part of the robot you got to build, and I want the right arm to be able to do this, I want the left arm. It was a very good customizable tactics game that gave you a lot of options of how every single guy on your team could fight and do different things. So that was probably the first thing that came to mind for a mech game that I want to try.
And lastly, obviously, I would accept any Mech Warrior style game.
Okay.
For the console. Those would be my dream games, Casey.
Decoy DW asks, somebody asks you, I have $500 to spend on a Switch, games and accessories. What should I get? And what do you answer at this point in the Switch's life? Neglecting sales tax, etc. First off, also, other than the system, I mean, I guess you definitely want to get one great solo player game and at least one great multiplayer game. So I'll say you either get yourself Mario and I'll say Splatoon. At this point, those are like the two best things. You definitely want a case. And that clamshell case I mentioned last week is the perfect thing in the world. And I think that really complements it. That's the main thing. What would you say?
Let's do this, Casey. $300 for the Switch, plus $60 for Zelda, that's $360, plus $60 for Splatoon, that's $420, plus $60 for Mario Kart 8, that's $480, plus about $12 for a case, that's $492, and about $8 for a screen protector, that's $500. Boom, done.
Okay, that sounds good. I don't think any other accessories are really necessary. If you want to swap out a game for an extra controller, be my guest.
Yes, there's your $500, Decoy.
And I think the final one we can do here is...
I think that's actually a valid question.
This is from Colin Campbell. Has Splatoon taken you away from ARMS? Do you think Nintendo will continue to support ARMS with DLC? Nothing announced, and it makes me a little nervous.
Honestly, yes. Splatoon has definitely taken us away from ARMS. It's hard to get excited about ARMS, considering just how hype Splatoon 2 is. It's had one full game to really iron out its issues, and it's more established, and honestly, it's kind of more fun to play, to me.
I think if you're the kind of person who prefers, and I think this is just generally a thing that people who play the Switch favor, a more multiplayer experience with a team, that's Splatoon, that's going to appeal to you, whereas ARMS is, it's a one-on-one game. The multiplayer stuff is a little more of a fringe thing on it. It's not like the focus. And so if you favor something where you're yourself and you only have to rely on your own skills, ARMS is the game for you. I just feel that the Nintendo community is not as lean towards that as maybe other gaming communities. So I think that's the only reason why ARMS hype has waned so fast. Well, plus it's, after Splatoon 2 came out, it just stole a lot of the wind from its sales. But I still think they're going to have updates. They're not going to neglect the game.
Right. And I do feel like ARMS is a bit of a harder sell as a game in general. It has a definite learning curve where you might not even be able to understand how to get good at the game without quite a bit of practice. And both single player and multiplayer can feel a bit punishing. So that's something that people might consider when choosing between Splatoon and ARMS.
Yeah. I mean, ARMS is just, it's something, it's a new concept, where Splatoon had the first game on Wii U to prove the concept and win acceptance. ARMS is trying to carve a whole new audience for itself.
Right. And there are going to be a lot more fighting games, even 3D fighting games on the Switch in the near future, while there isn't going to be a game quite like Splatoon anytime soon. So
I think when JV runs the ARMS tournament, people will get back hype. It's, something like that is all it takes, I think.
Right, exactly.
All right, that is our show for this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and thank you all of our lovely patrons at patreon.com/theswitchcast. And if you're listening to the show and you like what we had to say, you should visit that site and consider giving us a $1, $5, whatever pledge you were comfortable with to help the show. We need the help. It helps us grow, helps JV do things like start streaming our games online and stuff like that. And if you want to help us out in other ways, though, please consider leaving us a review. We need more reviews. I'm not done getting reviews. So if you have not and you're listening to the show, please just at least consider going to the Apple Podcast app or wherever you listen to us and leave us a great 5-star review and help more people find the show that way. Honestly, guys, it just takes you just a minute if you could just do that. I'd love it. Of course, we have a Discord chat that we're always talking about because it's awesome, and you'll find a link to that in the show notes, and it's a great place. You can lurk for a while. Just come on, watch it, see what we have to say for a little bit, and then when you're ready, come and talk, because we're pretty open to always new people and forming new Splatoon groups and other stuff. And of course, you can email us. I'm KC, that's the letters, KC@theswitchcast.com, and he's JV, again, the letters, @theswitchcast.com.
Right. You can also follow us on Twitter at the SwitchCast. We always keep you guys up to date on any new episodes we release, and have our musings about the Switch here and there. We have our Instagram at the SwitchCast as well. Join our Facebook group. This is honestly one of the best and most civil Facebook groups I've ever been in. And it's just a bunch of people discussing and sharing their Nintendo Switch experiences on the Facebook group. So check that out. We have the SwitchCast friends list. If you need friends to play with, there's a whole bunch of friends there waiting to play with you. So check that out. We'll leave the link to that in the show notes. And thank you to the HeatleyBros for the theme music. And until next time,
switch it up.